Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Solar Opposites. Okay, so this episode, the Cardboard Dead Drop, is, well, a wall episode. This is kind of standard at this point. They build up to more episodes of it, and then they make the wall episodes. And this is one of those. So, yeah, this episode is an espionage episode as it's promoted. And it's an interesting episode, because it establishes, well, essentially it is the episode that was the culmination of this entire season, where obviously Sherry is trying to get Paisley back so that she can get her to safety, and winds up being in another situation where she also is trying to plan an assassination of Sister Sisto, who is by this point has kind of become mad with power, as is typical with a lot of the people who have been in power across this series at this point. There was Duke, then Tim, and now her, and they've all gotten crazy and mad with power. But in case, yeah, that's exactly how the episode opens up. So it's established that the wall has become extremely cold at this point. The entire premise is that Sister Sisto is slowly lowering the temperature in the wall because she has access to the thermostat, and she's able to make it colder, slowly colder within the wall, and that results in everything just being icy and cold and frozen. But in case we do see since the wall is now frozen, we do actually see Jimmy, Sherry, and also Lynette, a kind of new character that we've met. I don't know if there's a picture of her. I'll have to look into that. But Jimmy, Lynette, and Sherry are currently sneaking around on the Bowenian side of the wall, and of course they're trying to find any evidence of the mole, and of course they're trying to figure out who the mole is. They have no idea who the identity is. Obviously they have no clue that it's Montez at this point, because we know it's Montez. They do not know it's Montez, but he is. But of course they're trying to speculate about who it could possibly be, and they have been passing this one mailbox where they've been trying to find coded messages hidden on them, and they're of course very confused as to who could be leaving them. And it's also insists that there's probably that the whole mole side of things is probably a bust, since they've been by that same mailbox 3 times and there's been nothing. And of course Jimmy is insistent that they need to leave, because every second they take where they're spent here risks the chance of them being killed. And sure enough, they do. Sherry does finally find a message on the mailbox, but her group is confronted by Bowenian paladins, who all insist to know what she's doing there, and they proceed to create a very convincing lie about how everybody is trying to stretch for circulation, which of course the Bowenians are convinced at first, until Jimmy decides to add it. I'm not going to go into why. Watch the episode, but it's a thing that comes up. That's all I'll say about it. I don't feel comfortable talking about what they talk about, but in any case, they eventually find out that Sherry's group is lying when Jimmy coughs, which they note is odd, and because they pretend to have sickness is what I'm trying to say, but the sickness doesn't work the way they think it does, and they wind up seeing that Jimmy is faking it. So they wind up trying to chase them. Sherry decides to hold them all off with snowballs, while Jimmy and Lynette go over a barbed wire fence. In the process, the message gets caught on the fence, and they have to find a way to grab it and rip it off. But of course they do manage to successfully do that. At which point, having successfully fended off several of the guards at this point, Sherry tries to run away, and the guards proceed to chase her. But right when she thinks she's about to get caught, Montez shows up and tries to and insists to know why they're chasing after her. And also he has a notable stutter because he admits it's cold. And of course there's a joke that it's only the consonants that he's having trouble with. And of course they insist that somebody was out after curfew and they were trying to confront them. But Montez points out that that's not really a crime, and insist that they be let go. And of course, because it's Montez, they immediately back off. Well, of course, Montez does kind of mutter under his breath that tells Sherry good luck under his breath. She doesn't hear him at that because she's long gone by this point. But after that, he then proceeds to leave. At which point, this is at this point where Montez then proceeds to reconvene with Sister Sisto. And what we find out is that Sister Sisto is torturing people just without any real reason. Like, as we established, she had of course, Montez is a little confused as to why they're flogging somebody. And, of course, she's trying to make sure that he never questions the Bohemians' teachings, so they're torturing him. And also is insisting that they flog the front as well, much to the guy's fear, because you don't normally flog the front. Of course, Montez proceeds to talk with Sister Sisto, wondering what exactly it is that she could have possibly, come up that why she would have possibly thought the idea of flogging of this guy, and she admits that, and of course she admits that she felt like he was straying from his teachings. With of course Montez being confused and wondering if there was in fact any sort of heretics or any sort of sign that he was a heretic or anything else, and she just admits she had a hunch, which of course Montez is uncomfortable with. Because he points out that if it's just a hunch, he doesn't feel like it's necessary. But she proceeds to insist that Sister Sisto proceeds to insist that she claims that Jesse is speaking directly to her, and that Jesse's words are her words. So but also points out that she also has a hunch that there are in fact spies in the wall, and she proceeds in order on her side of the wall at least, and she insists that Montez look into it. And of course Montez is also visibly uncomfortable talking about with that, but he does then proceed to do exactly what she asks, and does keep an eye out for people in the wall that could be possible spies. And of course he's mainly uncomfortable because he's obviously the mole, but she doesn't know that. At which point, but in any case, it is at this point where Sherry winds up successfully making it back to the safe house on the Bohemian side of the wall, and whispers the password, which winds up being Onion Volcano, and she proceeds to sneak inside, and points out that she got really close and was almost caught, but luckily she made it back. And of course, Lynette and Jimmy both present her with a message, pointing out that they've been trying to figure out the message but can't quite decipher it. At which point, and pointing out that half of it has been ripped. And of course, Sherry flips it over. First things first, she sees an inspirational quote, which it's definitely a bub, which they can't quite figure out because they know that the rapper that the note is written on always comes with these inspirational quotes in them. Nobody has any idea what's being said, but they do point out that another message only saying that Sister Sisto is doing something. They have no idea what it is. Only half of the message is readable, but it's clearly that she's doing something. But after a bit of thinking, they interpret what it is. It's then revealed that Yamulak and Jesse had got this Donatello head thing, which got hidden in the wall, and believe that Sister Sisto is going to be unveiling it. Which, of course, we do find out a little bit about how. The reason it's in the wall is because Jesse and Yamulak had begged Corvo for a long time to get it. He didn't budge. Jateri eventually caved, and then they played with it for like 2 days, then hid it in the wall to hide the fact that it was collecting dust. So, which of course they point out is an excellent thing. But they also point out that the Donatello head has a structural weakness because it has a screw designed to hold the head open as a hinge. And that if the screw is removed, it could collapse the entire thing. And they realize that this could be a perfect opportunity to kill Sister Sisto, which of course causes Sherry to point out that that's a very bad idea. Pointing out that she doesn't want to kill Sister Sisto, and pointing out that it could potentially put Paisley in danger. But then Jimmy and Lynette do point out that the mole obviously wouldn't put Paisley in danger, and if they were going to put a message in there for her. And after thinking through it for a bit, does realize that they're right, and does conclude that they should absolutely try and figure out their plan to assassinate Sister Sisto and save the wall from her, pointing out that she is in fact evil at this point, because she's just kind of torturing people for no real reason. But of course, it's at this point where we do find out that Sister Sisto is currently giving dictations to another member of the Bowidian Church, Sister Blisto, who we have met, and I was wrong on my prediction about who that was under the Sister Blisto hood. We do actually find out who it is in this episode, and I was wrong. I was wrong about it being Sherry, because I remember saying, "Oh, it looks like Sherry. It's probably Sherry." Turns out, no, it's not. It's somebody completely different, but also somebody we know. So, yeah. But in case she then proceeds to be giving orders to Sister Blisto, and Blisto is obviously writing them down, but then notes a discrepancy in the writings, and of course then proceeds to discusses Sister Sisto to snap at her, pointing out that there are in fact no inconsistencies and that she should stop trying to think so hard, and does point out that if she can't figure out if she can't obviously take down the notes that she's expected to take down, then she will happily have her replaced with somebody else. At which point Sister Blisto insists that no, she's completely fine. Insisting that Sister Blisto is the dedicated to her church. She points out that she will absolutely believe in everything the church says without question, and that she will never once again question Sister Sisto's authority, which Sister Sisto appreciates and then proceeds to leave, but then we find out she doesn't actually appreciate her. At which point she takes a bath with Pesley, and Montez comes in with an Alka-Seltzer tab to provide bubbles. At which point Sister Sisto tells Montez what happened, about how Sister Blisto questioned one of her teachings today, which of course causes Montez to become again confused and a little uneasy, pointing out that Sister Blisto is one of the most dedicated people in the Bowidian Church, and that there is no way in hell that she would actually question Sister Sisto's authority deliberately. But Sisto insists that she may need to be dealt with at some point as a heretic, which means her head will eventually have to be put on the wall, and this of course causes Montez again to become uneasy. So he insists that he'll talk with her and make sure that she isn't actually stepping out of line like Sister Sisto thinks. So Sisto thanks him for him, at which point she gets out of the bath, and he's obviously very visibly uncomfortable again for different reasons. Like, I shouldn't have to explain why. She's naked in the bath, and she's obviously visibly uncomfortable. But of course, he then proceeds to offer her a towel, at which point she claims that she will just drip dry, as is Jesse's teachings, but then he insists that it's too cold, so she just takes the towel anyway. But in any case, he does proceed to grab a hot cranberry and gives it to Sister Blisto and does meet with her. At which point, Sister Blisto once again he proceeds to talk with Sister Blisto, and she of course does reaffirm that yes, she is completely devout to the church and that she would never question Sister Sisto's authority. Which of course causes Montez to become reassured that she didn't actually step out of line like Sisto thinks, but does also insist that she should probably stay away from Sisto, pointing out that Sisto, he's just very insistent that she stay away from Sisto, and she doesn't quite listen to him, but does appreciate his concern. But in any case, it's this point where Jimmy, Lynette, and Sherry don't proceed to prepare their route to get to the Donatello head and snap it shut. And the idea is that they're going to go sneak up, unscrew the screw that's holding the hinge closed, and cause the whole thing to collapse, crushing Sister Sisto. And at which point they proceed to go through their game plan. And the joke is that nothing that they actually do for the game plan is actually going well. Literally, their espionage plan is to get to the screw, and it should go exactly this way and be completely fine. Then it turns out, no, in actual practice, nothing is the way they think it is actually going to be. And also, there's a really funny bit in here where Jimmy is concerned about a giant bat, and they're followed by Lynette and Sherry in VO, reassuring him that there is no bat. You do not need to bring anything to deal with the bat. It's just a myth. And also pointing out that Diurnal wouldn't attack him anyway because it would be asleep. At which point, and then all of this is going on over the fact that Jimmy does wind up getting attacked by a bat, and has to, and Lynette and Sherry have to save him. But of course, ultimately they do manage to sneak their way up to the jaw of the John Hotel head, and are about ready to unscrew the screw when suddenly Sister Blisto sees them, and of course they proceed to explain that they just got lost and start to claim that Sister Blisto shouldn't tell anybody that they're there, but then Sherry winds up recognizing Sister Blisto and Blisto as well, and we find out that it's actually Hulk's wife Nova. We find out that Nova has actually joined the we find out that she's joined the Bowenian Church on the grounds that she believes that Jesse will be able to bring her late husband back, and of course, Sherry does wind up kind of consoling Nova, pointing out that first and foremost, she regrets bringing him down into the depths to help her deal with the mosquitoes, pointing out that he never should have died and tried to be a hero because she knew that all he wanted was to be with Nova and not do that, and of course admits that that's her fault, but also points out that she should know better than anyone that Hulk is gone and there is no bringing him back, regardless of what Sister Sisto says to her. And of course, Nova is insistent that Sisto knows a way to bring Hulk back, claiming that Jesse is speaking to her directly and has seen a ray and knows that Jesse has a ray gun that can bring someone back from the dead. But of course, Cherry tries to insist that Sisto is lying, pointing out that nobody has actually heard from Jesse, like at all, since they've been in the wall. And if Sisto is saying it, it's definitely a lie to manipulate people. But of course, Sisto is. We find out that Nova is still very much gripped on Sisto's every word, and is insistent that Sherry is lying, insistent that Hulk can be brought back and that she will be able to see her husband again. Proceeds to run off to warn somebody that there's spies in their midst. At which point, Jimmy and Lynette realize that they need to hurry up and get the screw undone, or they're going to be in big trouble. And of course, we find out that the first person that's Nova immediately runs into is Montez, and tells them that there's somebody trying to unscrew the screw of the Donatello head. So Montez then proceeds to try kind of defuse the situation by claiming that he'll go deal with it personally. She doesn't need to tell anybody else. So he proceeds to go off and go find Sherry and her group. And of course, they believe Sherry and her group immediately believe they've been found out until Montez whispers the safe word, Onion Volcano, which of course causes them to become confused as to how he could possibly know that, at which point he proceeds to explain a bunch of things that only the mole would know. Obviously who set up the safe house, what the safe word is. He then proceeds to explain a bunch of other things about ultimately the thing that convinces everybody is that what the actual inspirational quote on the wrapper he wrote was, which is that it's definitely a bubble bath day, which of course causes everybody to kind of realize that he is in fact the mole. And Sherry then proceeds to greet him and greet him like an old friend, and does proceed to tell him about what their plan is, about how they need his help to unscrew the screw to the Donatello head so that it'll crush Sister Sisto. But it's of course at this point where Montez points out that actually he told them not to do that. He has been trying to tell them that the entire time that she'll be with Pesley, and that they should stay away from the Donatello head, which of course causes Sherry to become confused, and it's at this point where Lynette and Jimmy start looking at each other a little suspiciously. At which point, Sherry insists that there's no way she could possibly know that, pointing out that the wrapper was ripped, and that they really need to call off the assassination now. But it's at this point where Jimmy and Lynette reveal that actually they knew that Pesley was going to be there the whole time because they were the one that ripped the note. And of course, then revealing that their plan is to ultimately assassinate Sister Sisto and end the strife within the wall. They also insist that the reason why they didn't tell Sherry because they knew she wouldn't agree to the plan if she knew that they were going to kill Pesley as well. And of course, she then proceeds to insist that yes, she does know that Pesley is in danger, but that this is crazy and that they can't do this. But Of course, Jimmy points out that she obviously knows that at this point that Sherry only really cares about herself, because they reveal that they found the Mentos wrapper and know she was the one who sabotaged the Game Boy. Which of course she points out that it's very different, pointing out that the council would never have sided with her otherwise. And of course she's right, because they were very insistent that they were fine. They didn't need to deal with Sister Sisto until until Sherry did that. Of course, once again insisting that this is a rescue mission and not an assassination attempt, she proceeds to insist that they need to call it off now. But of course, Jimmy and Ninette have no interest in doing that, claiming that when they're done, that Sherry will be a hero. But Montez then declares that she already is one. At which point, he and Sherry proceed to face off against Lynette and Jimmy. And of course, Lynette winds up being killed in the process, but Jimmy is able to actually successfully unscrew the screw. He winds up being able to get to the screw and is able to screw it fully enough. But right around this time, right as they're fighting, Nova comes to Sisto and then proceeds to tell her what happened about how Montez had left to deal with something and that Sisto isn't safe. And of course, realizing that Montez never told her any of this, realizes that Montez is a traitor, and Sisto insists that they need to find him and deal with him. But before they can do that, the Donatello head proceeds to collapse because Jimmy winds up unscrewing the screw. He winds up getting crushed in the process because the screw is massive compared to him. But it causes the Donatello to crush him. And he dies, and he dies, and nobody else does though, as we find out. Like Paisley winds up getting knocked out before she can stop the Donatello head. But when she recovers, she looks around, discovers everybody has been completely messed up, and but then discovers that Montez has arrived with her baby, and that Paisley is completely fine and completely safe. But Montez then insists that they need to get out of the wall. That they need to get out of this side of the wall because he knows the guards will be waking up soon. And sure enough, the guards start emerging from the snow, at which point they proceed to go on a big speed chase using tech decks as and repurposing them as snowboards. And there's a joke about how people used to do that in the 90s by just using little finger blade skateboards. And there was a point where they tried to put a little dude, but yeah. People used to do that. It was a weird time. I was in school when that happened. People used to use little tech decks and do little finger dings. But in any case, they wind up successfully escaping the various guards with the snow, with their makeshift snowboards. But in the process, they accidentally drop Paisley, and she winds up sliding over to what Montez believes to be a cliff. But then it's revealed that it's actually Paisley is in no danger because they forgot that the wall itself is a big glass wall and there is no cliff. She just slides. Paisley just slides into it, harmlessly bounces off the glass, and then just winds up back into her mother's arms. But Cherry is upset because Montez unintentionally scared her. But once they realize that they're safe from the guards, they proceed to, for the time being, they proceed to get ready to escape over to the heathen side of the wall. But then Sherry thinks through that a little bit. As we find out, she's worried because she realizes that if they bring Paisley over to the heathen side of the wall, that they will just use Paisley the exact same way Sister Sisto used her. They will try to use her as a political chip to grow in power, and she doesn't want that for her child. So she insists that the only way to be for Paisley to be truly safe is to escape the wall again. Which, of course, Montez points out is a bad idea, pointing out that there's going to be nature and animals, and she knows personally how dangerous it is. But of course, Sherry is insistent, pointing out that she knows the dangers of what's out there, which means she knows how to safely protect herself from them. But she also insists that if she isn't they'll be safe from the political strife that's going on within the wall currently. So for that reason, she insists that it'll probably be fine. But of course, she points out that she does need to do. But of course, Montez insists that he comes with, which of course she initially objects. But after realizing that there's not really going to be any way to persuade Montez to leave her behind, she realizes that yes, Montez will come with. And that should come with, even though she admits that she's cursed and that everybody who's tried to get close to her has gotten badly injured or anything, or worse. But of course, Montez just insists that it's a bubble bath day and that he will come with. But ultimately deciding that yes, that after realizing that they should just escape the wall together, they do that. Unaware to anybody else, Nova comes to Sister Sisto and tells her about how, and if we find out that Sisto is alive and well, she's badly injured, but she survived her attempted assassination. And of course, declaring that Nova is in fact their big kid, is in fact as devout as she thought she was. She then proceeds to praise Nova for her braveness and devotion to the Bohemian Church. At which point she proceeds to declare that after finding out that Paisley is off on the heathen side, or at least she thinks she's on the heathen side. Obviously, nobody actually knows that Paisley has escaped the wall with Sherry and Montez at this point. But declaring that the heathens are in fact so devoted to the destruction of the Bohemian Church that they would sneak in and kidnap their golden child. She declares a holy war between the heathen side and the Bohemian side, and that is how the episode ends. So yeah, that's gonna be a big thing when we eventually peek back into the wall. There's gonna be a big war going on between the heathens and the Bohemians. That is gonna be messy, and I'm curious how that's going to resolve itself. But yeah, it is overall, this was a fun episode. I definitely enjoyed it, but it also is just, as I said, gonna be very messy because Sherry unwittingly caused a holy war between the two sides of the wall because she escaped from the wall with Paisley. That's going to be a problem going forward, I'm sure. Nobody's obviously going to know that Sherry has escaped from the wall, but I am curious what's going to come with this. Because obviously we know that Sisto is eventually going to have to. We know Sisto is eventually going to be exposed for what she really is, because, that's how the series has gone at this point. Like, eventually somebody is going to figure out her lies and eventually figure out that she's not actually speaking through Jesse isn't actually speaking through her. Someone is eventually going to figure that out. And I'm sure eventually something is going to happen. I don't know, because the C story with the wall is interesting and weird, and it's also a very politically charged as a series, so I do kind of like it, but it is always interesting to try and figure out what's going on with the wall, not like the more episodic stuff that goes on with the rest of the series. I do like the series, but the wall is definitely one of the more interesting parts that a lot of people like, rather than the more episodic stuff with the solar opposites and everything else. But I am curious where that's going to go, so that's going to do it for today, I think. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Discord. Link is down in the description. I would appreciate that. We hang out there, so I would appreciate it if you were to hang out there as well. Please go do that. And go and check out my Twitch. We stream Saturdays and Sundays over there. We are currently streaming Ring Fit Adventure and Pizza Tower. We're doing the new, quote-unquote, new game plus for Pizza Tower. So definitely go check it out, especially since the new game plus with the noise update is doing well, which makes me very happy because it's one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite indie games, and I'm happy it's doing well. Yeah, definitely go check that out. And if you want to just kind of catch up with what's going on, it's maybe like an hour and a half, I think, as a stream. So definitely go check that out. But I think a lot of people have at this point. But yeah, it is doing well, which makes me happy. But yeah, and also be sure and go and check out the videos linked in the end screen as well. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this video. Whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So if you want to try something new or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both those videos out. And finally, if you want to support me, be sure to go check out my Patreon. It's only a couple bucks a month. It helps me out, and I would appreciate it if you were to do that. So please go check that out. Again, link is down in the description and on the end screen. If you want to support me, you can through that. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.